Hey everyone, and welcome to today's Explainer. Today, we're diving right into 3 completely wild, viral, anonymous stories that have been making the rounds on social media. We're going to be looking at these situations through the lens of content creator Call Me Chris2, who recently shared some seriously sharp commentary on how to navigate these exact types of conflicts. We'll unpack these dilemmas together and extract some real-world lessons about accountability, trust, and setting those all-important boundaries. Let's get right into it. So you might be asking yourself, what do Batman, a massive 3-tier wedding cake, and a secret trip to a lake cabin actually have in common? On the surface, absolutely nothing, right? But as we'll see, these 3 seemingly unrelated scenarios all test our ability to handle conflict when people really push our limits. Whether you're dealing with a partner, a supposed best friend, or your own kid, these are massive, real-life tests of our boundaries.
Okay, here is the agenda for this explainer. First up, we've got the superhero name compromise. Second, the wedding cake ultimatum. Third, the unsupervised teenage trip. And fourth, we'll tie it all together with trust, accountability, and boundaries.
Starting with Section 1, the superhero name compromise, when fandom meets fatherhood. All right, picture this for our first core conflict. We have a pregnant woman and her fiancé expecting twin boys, which is amazing, right? But it leads to a massive dispute over baby names. They had this deal. She gets to pick the first names and he gets to pick the middle names. Simple enough. But then he insists on naming their future sons after superheroes. And I mean, literally naming them Batman and Spider-Man. And he's completely serious about this. Now, it's kind of funny at first glance, but these are living human beings who are going to have to put this on a resume one day. So the question is this worth a major relationship argument? Well, the fiancé's original pitch was, of course, Batman and Spider-Man. But the final agreed-upon compromise they landed on, Bruce and Peter. And Call Me Chris2 absolutely loved this resolution. It's a fantastic way to honor the fiancé's fandom without burdening the kids with, ridiculous legal names. The mother stood her ground, they communicated effectively, and they found a really solid middle path.
Moving right along to Section 2, the wedding cake ultimatum, a recipe for a ruined friendship.
This segment begs a pretty heavy question. Should a bride's demands ever override a friend's personal limits? This is basically a perfect case study in a toxic friendship meltdown. We've got a 22-year-old baker who agreed to make cakes for her friend Cassie's wedding just as a favor, trying to balance this massive task with her own already busy life.
Now, the original agreement here was incredibly manageable. Just 8 simple, 1-tier cakes to use as centerpieces. Totally doable. But months later, the bride radically shifts her expectations and suddenly demands 8 highly intricate, 3-tier custom wedding cakes. The baker politely declines because, frankly, it's completely beyond her skill level and her free time, and she even offers to help find another skilled baker. But instead of being understanding, the bride completely loses her mind. The escalation here is just so rapid. It goes like this. The bride makes this totally unreasonable demand. The baker politely declines and offers a fair compromise, and in response, the bride and her friends literally launch a harassment campaign against her. To finally stop the abuse, the baker takes the ultimate step and sends the receipts, all the screenshots, straight to the groom. And the plot twist? The groom actually apologizes, realizes the bride has a history of acting like this, and literally pauses the wedding so they can get into counseling. Wild, right? Which brings us to this incredibly blunt, colorful quote from the baker's boyfriend. Decapitate her from your life. I mean, wow. But it perfectly echoes Call Me Chris's take that this toxic friendship just needed to be permanently severed. The baker ended up blocking the bride and all her minions entirely. The lesson here? Just because someone is getting married, that does not give them a free pass to abuse your kindness. Let's jump into Section 3, the unsupervised teenage trip, trust, lies, and lake houses. This brings us to a really tense, high-stakes parenting dilemma. Would you let your 16-year-old go on an out-of-town trip to a secluded lake house without ever actually meeting or speaking to the host parents? A teenager wants to miss school for this cabin trip, but constantly dodges her mother's incredibly simple boundary of needing the host parents' phone numbers. If your teenager is dodging requests for basic contact info, yeah, that is a giant red flag. And of course, the teenager's lie just completely unravels step by step. First, she claims a friend's family is hosting the trip, but then she stalls and refuses to provide any parent contact info. Trusting her gut, the mother firmly vetoes the trip, and then the terrifying revelation comes out: no parents were ever attending. They were literally going to drop 2 16-year-olds off with some groceries and leave them totally unsupervised at a lake house for 4 days. The mother's instinct was completely, 100% validated.
Calmic Chris 2 really breaks down the compounding dangers here. And when you stack them up, it's genuinely terrifying. First off, these 16-year-olds can't drive if there's a medical emergency. Second, skipping multiple days at the very start of the school year is a big deal. Third, boating unsupervised at a secluded cabin is highly dangerous. But the absolute biggest takeaway? The lying itself instantly removes the option for a yes. You just simply cannot reward deception with permission.
Finally, Section 4. Trust, Accountability, and Boundaries. Connecting the dots.
So when we look across the baby name argument, the whole wedding cake disaster, and the sneaky teenager, 3 core pillars of life advice emerge from all this commentary. Number 1, you have to hold friends accountable for toxic behavior. Number 2, always trust your gut when the facts just don't seem to align. And number 3, set firm boundaries in absolutely all of your relationships because those boundaries are the bedrock foundation of your own self-respect.
So it leaves us with this final question. How would you have handled these modern social dilemmas? It's so easy for us to sit back and judge from the outside, but looking at this really forces us to ask, how strong are your own boundaries, really? What would it actually take for you to finally walk away from a toxic friend, or to say a really hard no to someone you love? Take a hard look at where you draw your lines. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and as always, keep questioning.